Okay, let's dive into this. Welcome back to today's Explainer. We've got a really fascinating slice-of-life aquatic mystery today, straight from the ongoing records of a seriously dedicated fish keeper. It's titled Notes on Fishkeeping, Part 317, Caring for an Injured Golden Gourami. Now just think about that number for a second, Part 317. That tells us right away we're stepping into a deeply established routine here. This isn't someone's first rodeo. It's a long-term documentation of aquatic life. And today we're zooming in on one highly dramatic incident in this ongoing saga. It's a story of territorial clashes, sudden medical emergencies, and the really tough realities of caring for a vulnerable creature.
Dear Interweb, you know, it's such a simple opening, but I love how it immediately anchors us in this authentic, episodic diary format. It feels incredibly personal, right? The author Ang is essentially pulling us right into their backyard, specifically into an outdoor pond environment. We're not talking about a sterile, perfectly controlled indoor glass aquarium here. This is a rugged outdoor ecosystem. And in this particular pond, they have a male golden gourami. Now this guy is an established resident. He's described as a true survivor out of the many they had obtained earlier. He's carved out his own little existence in this specific body of water. Keep that image of established peace in your mind, because it's about to be totally upended.
Setting the scene for our conflict, let's look at the pond's new arrival. As you know, any established ecosystem is a delicate balancing act, and we're about to see what happens when you toss a completely unpredictable element into the mix. And this brilliantly illustrates the intense physical mismatch at the heart of our story. We've got our existing fish, the male golden gourami, the survivor, who knows every inch of his territory. But then, enter the newcomer. She's an assumed female golden gourami, but with one absolute game-changing distinction. She is notably larger in size. Just imagine the tension here. You have an established male defending his home turf, suddenly confronted by a newcomer who completely physically outmatches him. In the animal kingdom, and especially in the confined space of a pond, size matters immensely. The stakes of dropping this specific new animal into his territory literally could not be higher.
Well, to put it mildly, the existing male fish didn't exactly roll out the welcome mat. The harmony of the pond was instantly shattered. The author notes that right after the introduction of the larger female, things just went south. We don't get a blow-by-blow description of the actual fight, but we know the outcome was incredibly sudden. This definitely wasn't a peaceful integration. It was a severe territorial clash.
Which brings us to the fallout, the mystery of the bent spine.
A severely bent spine. Our male fish, the tough survivor we met earlier, suffered a completely debilitating injury. The author explicitly notes that this condition critically affected his ability to swim well. And, for an aquatic creature, mobility is quite literally life. If you can't swim properly, you struggle to maintain equilibrium, you struggle to feed, and you basically just struggle to survive in the water column. The stakes for this little gourami just skyrocketed from a simple turf war to a desperate fight for survival.
So, this leads us to the million-dollar question. What actually caused the injury? I really appreciate how the author leans into their own uncertainty here, freely admitting they just aren't sure of the exact reason. It puts us right there in the mud with them, looking down into the water, trying to decipher the aftermath of an unseen event. We have a severe symptom, the bent spine, but what's the root cause? It turns us into aquatic crime scene investigators.
Let's look at the evidence. The author lays out 3 specific hypotheses for us to examine. First, could it be a bacterial infection, attacking the internal systems and causing these physical deformities? Or, second, perhaps it's a broken spine from blunt force trauma, literally snapping the skeletal structure. Finally, there's the possibility of a severe nutritional deficiency causing bone or muscle weakness over time. Like any good detective, the author puts every single possibility on the table.
So the crucial point is how we narrow these down, because they definitely aren't all equally likely. The vast majority of the probability points directly to either an infection or a broken spine. Why? Because both of those are directly linked to the violent infighting with that larger newcomer. The clash likely resulted in either a direct, traumatic break or a nasty wound that rapidly developed into a severe infection. The outlier here is the nutritional deficiency. While it's possible in theory, actually, scratch that. Given the sudden onset right after a territorial dispute, all fingers point heavily toward the physical trauma of the fight.
Now we move into the final phase, triage and treatment. We've seen the conflict, we've analyzed the severe injury, so what's the action plan? Well, the first priority was moving the injured fish to a shallow space at the top of a basket container to rest. Think about it. With a bent spine, the fish just doesn't have the energy to fight gravity and swim to the surface for air. This basket is essentially an aquatic intensive care unit. Step 2, keep the fish well fed to build up much-needed healing energy. And finally, step 3, Monitor closely. Because honestly, at this critical stage, dedicated observation is pretty much the only tool they have left.
Which brings us to the end of the entry. Till the next post. Yours truly, Ang. It's a really poignant sign-off. It wraps up the immediate log, but it leaves us sitting with this unresolved reality. The author has done all the triage they can. They provided the shallow water, the extra food, the watchful eye, but there is simply nothing left to do but wait. It's a stark, very real reminder of the limitations we face when caring for injured animals. The outcome is pending, and we're just left in suspense. So, I want to leave you with a thought to ponder. How fragile is the balance of life when introducing new elements to an established ecosystem? This entire dramatic saga, the turf war, the bent spine, the makeshift ICU basket, the whole shebang was triggered by one single action, adding a new, larger fish to an existing environment. It perfectly highlights why all of this matters. It's a vivid reminder of the totally unpredictable stakes of animal care, and how incredibly fast an established piece can turn into a desperate fight for survival. Definitely something to keep in mind the next time you're looking at a seemingly tranquil little pond. Thanks for joining me for this explainer. I really hope it gave you a fresh perspective on the hidden dramas playing out just beneath the water's surface. Catch you next time.